From time immemorial, there have always been those who seek empowerment and understanding beyond that of the norm. Because of this, we can see that in every country and every culture, schools of thought and spiritual traditions evolve, which offer tuition in special techniques which allow the student to gain access to and control of hidden forces, and teach methods of seeing and sensing things which are normally invisible. If we look around in the modern day, we can see that there are countless books, lectures, teachers, and organisations offering methods of doing this. Sometimes they take the form of special incantations, spells or prayers. Sometimes there are those who specialise in rituals and ceremonies that bring the participant into contact with their own hidden potential or higher forces. There are also schools which specialise in meditation as a means to connect with things and to achieve insight and evolution of the self. This video, however, is going to focus on the powers, abilities and methods that stand beyond these techniques. This is a subject that's seldom even whispered about between practitioners, and to my understanding has never been written down with any clarity or eloquence. I believe that this is because very few people have a real life experience of what I'm about to describe, and those who do know that this is a very subtle, hard to describe thing, and thus it would take someone with great ambition or foolhardiness to attempt to convey it to others. Because the subject we are about to explore together is on the edge of human understanding, I'd like to ask for your help. As I reach out to you with my words, I'd like you to listen with full attentiveness, using your intellect to grasp the concepts and ideas I describe, but also allowing your emotion to tune into the feel of what I'm saying. Use your imagination to create a clear vision of the kind of perception which I am going to attempt to convey. Many people have heard the Hermetic saying, "As above, so below." It's a principle so powerful that many different traditions have adopted it as part of their worldview without knowing where it came from. And of course, there are many different legitimate interpretations of what this powerful statement means. For the purposes of this video, I'd like you to contemplate this concept, not just as a principle, but as a living experience. The idea that all physical things, all events in the material world, everything that exists, is a shadow of an idea. There are countless different spiritual traditions that teach that everything is formed of pure consciousness. that the ideas that you have in your mind are but subtler and more gentle versions of the physical objects you hold with your hands. Many people express this as an idea, but few people go as far as experiencing it as a way of being. If all things are formed of consciousness, then there is no higher and no lower. There is no holy and no unclean. All things spring from one thing, and this means that there are no closed systems. Everything interacts and influences the things it comes into contact with or has resonance with on some level. Imagine before you the bud of a flower. Simple, beautiful, and full of potential. We could imagine this as the basic form of human consciousness. Someone with this way of thinking, this way of viewing the world, this way of being, will have a very simplistic understanding of things. When they see an object, hear of an event, grasp a concept, everything is seen as separate and distinct. Likewise, their idea of cause and effect will be singular and direct. One thing acts on another thing in one way, bringing out one outcome. When they get ill, they're looking for the cause. When they want to get better, they're looking for the cure. For them, the idea of multiple causes, direct and indirect, on themselves and on others and their environment, causing multiple outcomes within them, is very hard to conceive. Likewise, the idea of a integrated and multiple sourced cure that acts upon them and others is even harder to see. In their life, they tend to view most things as permanent, never taking into account the natural changes, the cycles, and the time limits on things. Likewise, if you view their thought patterns and listen to them speak, you'll find there are many beliefs, habits, ways of perceiving things which have been put in place for their usefulness, their convenience, for acceptance and to protect themselves, rather than because of perception and truth. In order to unfold the petals, this flower needs to be the truth before it can fully see the truth. As these petals unfold, patterns and principles start to come to view. A more complex and integrated view of the world starts to appear. Understanding of catalysts, indirect causes, the natural way things function, the impermanence of all things, become part of functioning consciousness. Likewise, as better ways of doing things come to play, as internal barriers are removed, as injuries are healed, the mind opens up to a more clear understanding, and beliefs are put in place that reflect external truth rather than fulfilling internal needs. As the practitioner continues to perfect the techniques of spiritual evolution, the consciousness evolves and the petals unfold. The world is then seen in a far more complex and integrated way. Soon, however, the limits of the human intellect encourage the practitioner to call on other aspects of the self. The intuition, the intellect and the higher awareness start to combine, and things really open up. The limited sense of self starts to drift away as awareness expands outwards. Just as the rose petals are separate in and of themselves, but also part of the flower, so too are all objects seen as part of the one. The adept realizes that in a sense nothing is hidden, and that all mysteries, all truths are there in plain sight for those able to perceive them. The rhythms and patterns of things become visible, and the music of the universe becomes audible. The adept starts to harmonize with the one. And thus, as above, so below is no longer a principle, but for them a living reality. All things are of the same nature. Objects, thoughts, and words all ripple into each other, and the adept sees these ripples. The person with back problems who has the broken tree in their garden, the purchase of a pet that leads to the end of a relationship, a word that overthrows an empire, the plant that heals a nation. Now the practitioner must dispense of the techniques they once learned, so that they are able to work in harmony with the scheme of totality. For them, every thought has become a prayer, every word a spell, and each and every object a talisman. The hermeticist is now at one with the hidden forces they once sought to control. The magician has become magic itself.